Welcome. Thank you for joining me. Path of the Warden. This is one of the playable archetypes for my Templar. It's gonna be a long one, I suspect. So buckle up. Alright, so the Warden, guardians between the natural and supernatural worlds. As such, they are on an eternal watch. Many work across orders to ensure that this balance is kept. However, not many are able to follow this path, as the dark energies will consume the weak of will, and in recent centuries, their numbers have faded, yet those who remain are ever vigilant. So, originally, the idea I had for this was purely based off on the Wardens from Warcraft. I really like that, and maybe someday I think that could be a good Ranger archetype, but at the same time, it might just be a class on its own, so we'll see. It kind of turned into bending energy of positive and negative energy and the flow of the verse and keeping balance, so it became very, in a way, what I would relegate druids to within my world. I would relegate them to, like, say, within my world, there's ley lines, and at these ley lines, there's hot spots, and at those hot spots, I'll have a specific druid who's centuries old, guarding it, keeping track of it, making sure things are alright. And then in one of these, there could be wizards around and all that jazz, but I feel like this would work alongside that kind of lore within my own world. But this was purely made out of spite, this archetype, I'll say right now. The one person that I got involved with this that early on had all the other archetypes done and everything. I sent her what I thought was the right copy. Turns out it was an older copy with nothing really filled out. I think she said something along the lines of, "It seems kind of lacking." And I was like, "Is that so?" So I kind of went against the design of this class, but at the same time, I feel like it weirdly fits in. Alright, so Path of the Warden features at 2nd level, we gain the Warden's Burden. At 6th level, we gain Equilibrium and Existence is Suffering. Existence is Suffering, for people that don't know, is a Buddhist tenet, or it's the first thing. I can't remember exactly. It's not some edgy thing. It's rather interesting. I would suggest looking it all up. Gaia's Vigil at 10th level and Crown of Pineal Eye at 14th. All of this is very chakra kind of shit, all that kind of jazz. It focuses more on the spiritual side of things. Like, I felt like also, this is also why I kind of feel like it fits into the Templar, is that the Templars, there's the Inquisitor, there's the Crusader, there's the Apostle, all these things that are very typically religious, but where's something that's more spiritual, more nature based, so to say. And this kind of fits into that, and that's why I'm keeping it, and that's why I'm going with it. In the future, there may be a whole class based around this, so we'll see. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and get started here. We're going to start off with the Warden's Burden, as usual. Starting at 2nd level, we gain the Druidcraft and the Chill Touch cantrips. Druidcraft, because again, I was mentioning, it feels very akin to a Druid for me. It feels appropriate that they gain this. Some unique little things that you can do with that. And the Chill Touch cantrip is going to be invaluable to you. It's going to be one of the main generators that you're going to use for your equilibrium. Positive stacks, if you don't know what I'm talking about right now, I would go download this and read along with me. It's in my Discord. The link will be down in the description. It's going to be fun. And yeah, Chill Touch, it's going to be invaluable for us. As well, you gain proficiency in the Arcana, Nature, and Survival skills if you don't already have them. Your proficiency bonus is doubled for any ability checks you make that uses any of these proficiencies. So originally I just had Arcana and Nature, but I threw Survival in there because it felt kind of worthwhile. Like, again, I want this character to be very close to nature, but also, I didn't want to fully define it at the same time, because I want people to define it themselves. I want people to go ahead and be like, okay, well, this is very much going to fit into like my leyline idea or some other idea, and I want people to be able to branch out. And I felt like Arcana and Nature would be good enough, but Survival, it could help them in some way. So that was the easy part, and now we're going to jump into the first little bit that's going to be interesting. We're going to go ahead at 6th level, gain the equilibrium ability. So at 6th, you've learned to harness the positive and negative energies that flow throughout the verse, in which there is a delicate balance of equal and opposite reactions that must be upheld, and you shall be its conduit. When you take certain actions, you'll now gain equilibrium stacks of either positive energy or negative energy. These stacks do not fade, instead are used or replaced by gaining the opposite. So, example given, if you have positive stacks and you take an action that gains negative stacks, the negative stacks will eat into whatever positive stacks you have. So, if you're at 10 positive stacks, you take an action that will grant you 20 positive stacks, you lose those 10 positive stacks, and you're now 10 negative stacks. You know, it's math. You're never gonna have 2 bars of positive and negative energy at the same time. It's flowing back and forth, and you are literally the conduit of it. Alright, now, continuing on, as stated, actions that you can take will give you either positive or negative energy stacks. The ones that you have access to at 6th level are as follows below, and others will be detailed further in class features. Alright, so positive energy gains. Damaging spells as any necromancy-based spells that use dice to damage, example given, Chill Touch, Blight, grants you 4 positive energy stacks per die rolled. It must be cast through your Templar spell casting abilities and not cast through your equilibrium spell spenders, unless otherwise stated. And the idea being is that you're draining this person's vitality, and in itself is a form of positive energy, their vitality, life itself, and then you're taking that acquired positive energy and you're turning it into something else. So we're going to be gaining these positive energy stacks, and we're going to be dispersing it as something else for negative energy gains. Sacrificial Rite. Using this feature will gain you 4 negative energy stacks for each hit die that was sacrificed or would have been. In addition, your Sacrificial Rite now has a range of 20 feet, but does require line of sight. So the reason why there is a would have been, this is a reference to the Bulwark of the Faithful. That way, because during Bulwark of the Faithful, you're not actually sacrificing those hit dice. They're there. You're just going through a minute of pure healing with a bonus action. Healing spells. Any healing spells that use dice to restore hit points, example given, Mass Cure Wounds, grants you 2 negative energy stacks per spell level. It must be cast through your Templar spell casting abilities and not cast through equilibrium spenders unless stated otherwise. The reason why this is based off on spell level as opposed to how the positive energy gains work for 4 positive energy stacks per die rolled is because healing spells work a lot differently than most of the necrotic damaging based spells. So the necrotic damaging based spells, their damage dies will just keep going up and up and up. But then the example I gave here with Mass Cure Wounds, if you cast that at its level, which I can't remember right now. Alright, so here we go. Mass Cure Wounds, if you cast this, it is a 5th level spell. So by expending your 5th level spell slot, that's going to be 2 times 5, that's 10 negative energy stacks. But if we were going off of the dice, as you can see here, it's only 3d8. That's because Mass Cure Wounds dispenses it amongst many people. And also we have another way of also gaining negative energy stacks already with our Sacrificial Rite ability. And akin to the above mentioned, you are healing some form of damage that is considered a form of negative energy, and you're taking that energy away and turning it into something else. So with the top, we're reaching out with Chill Touch, and we're in a way siphoning off. We're taking something away from that individual. This is kind of how I view it, and we're able to take that positive energy from that individual and then channel it later into something else. And the same goes with the negative energy stacks. When we go to one of our allies and we want to heal them, we're taking away negative energy from them, and then we're able to channel that negative energy and put it into something else. Yeah, and also, as a note here, I didn't feel like wholly creating 2 new damaging types for this archetype. Should I create further classes using ideas akin to it? Perhaps then. Until that day comes, I'm using Necrotic as negative energy and Radiant as positive energy. Unless I start creating a whole bunch of classes, I'm considering making a class around this again. Then I may consider making a positive energy and a negative energy damaging types, but that's a big investment. And not only that, it would be involving the Dungeon Master to not only agree to having this class and archetype in here, but it would also be agreeing to having these damaging types and whatever effects I have along with them, because as we know, radiant damage has effects, cold damage has effects. Yeah, it's a lot of work, and I don't feel like it's necessarily the right kind of work putting into a class. So I do feel like negative energy represented by necrotic, radiant representing positive, it feels fine to me, and it's easy to accept. These positive and negative equilibrium stacks can be spent as an action to have a variety of different effects, depending on it being positive or negative, as follows in the next 2 pages. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into the charts. We got a few things. So this here is the positive equilibrium spending chart. So as we can see here, I'll just go over some key ones that I think are worthwhile with mentioning, because this video is going to be pretty long. So the stacks versus the cost. As we can see here, I have things labeled up to 100. Technically at level 6, if you're able to stack something up to 100 with your abilities, you will be able to do that. However, there are going to be effects that will hold you back from doing that, or at least probably going to kill you if you attempt to do that. So that will be after this. That's the existence of suffering feature that you also gain at 6th level. But anyways, I'm rambling. So some of the more important ones here are the 1 to 5s. You release stacks of positive equilibrium, equal to whatever you spend, but take 1d4 radiant damage in the process. This is just a release, because in a later feature, if we go over a certain amount of our stacks that we're able to safely hold at that level, you will have to make a saving throw, and you will suffer the consequences if you fail that. The other important ones here, of course, there's a whole bunch of other things, detect magic, to identify. The main thing here is that at 15, at 45, at 65, and at 80, there's ones that are very akin to, as you'll see in the negative energy stacks. So at 15, Cure Wounds at 2nd level has a range of 10 feet, and you gain 5 negative energy stacks. This continues on to 45, Cure Wounds at 4th level at a range of 20 feet, and you gain 15 negative energy stacks, and so on and so forth. The main idea of this is that it's again akin to how we are making this positive action. We're going maybe a bit beyond what we should be doing and outputting into the world. So instead, now we're going into the negative stacks. I want there to be an ebb and flow throughout this character where, again, every action has this equal and opposite reaction kind of thing. This is like you're going a little bit beyond what's capable, and you're taking some negative energy away from them, because you didn't have enough positive energy stacks, so you've gained some negative energy stacks. It will allow you to transition over into negative energy and start doing those builders. And yeah, and then some other, I'll just give some little things here. For example, I wanted to show throughout both the positive and the negative equilibrium stacks is that you can take positive energy and it can have a positive effect, or it can have a more what would be considered negative. This character would very much view not just in blacks and whites, but also grays. That positive energy can be used for something good and something bad, and negative energy can be used for something bad and something good. So the example is 20 stacks here, lesser restoration, and you take a little bit of damage, but you're able to cast Lesser Restoration. But then down the way, at 60, you're able to cast Dominate Person. Dominate Person, that doesn't really sound all too positive. You're taking away somebody's control, their free will. That would be a very, very negative thing. But in this way, we're able to take this positive energy and channel it into a Dominate Person ability here. And then, of course, there's other spells that will gain with a positive. Sunbeam, pretty powerful. Plane Shift, very, very powerful. Regenerate, very powerful. And Etherealness at 8th level. So, yeah. And to quickly go over these here, any spells cast through positive or negative equilibrium stacks will use your spell save DC and spell attack modifier. That's just a blanketed thing. Any spells that have a material component listed to them that is consumed on use cast through equilibrium still requires those components. Example given, Revivify. All spells are cast at their base level unless stated otherwise. So Etherealness is at 8th level instead of 7th. And Regenerate is just at Regenerate's 8th level, I believe. And all choices take 1 action to use. So these aren't bonus actions at all. This is purely you going in and action casting this. Should you seek out aid in understanding this, on page insert here. Good job, Bjorn. You fucking screwed the pooch there. Down below, we'll just change. No, I already posted it. Down below, there's an example in further thoughts and stuff like that at the very end here. But yeah, if you're looking for a written thing for understanding on how this character could use their abilities, it's down below. All right, now into the negative equilibrium stack. So again, with very similar, 1 to 5, you can release negative equilibrium stacks equal to whatever you've invested. Take 1d4 necrotic damage in this case. You can cast, and this is where again, there's abilities that would be considered good that you're using negative energy in order to cast them, or then there's negative energy you're using to do damage. In this case, enhance ability would be considered a good thing. The other good one would be Greater Restoration at 60. The idea with Greater Restoration is maybe it's attacking whatever is ailing, whatever, hurting your fucking allies, and yeah, and that it's attacking purely that thing. Maybe your ally's petrified, it's attacking the petrification within them, and then before it does any damage to them, you pull out that negative energy, and you take a bit of necrotic damage at the same time. And also akin to the restoration, the other important one here is the same levels, the 15, the 45, the 65, and the 80. Inflict wounds at 2nd level at a range of 10 feet, and will grant 5 stacks of positive energy. It continues the exact same levels as the cure wounds, and the same ranges, and the same opposite stacks that you would gain. I will say the other one that's of note here, there's a few more positive things that you can do with negative, such as Revivify. I decided to put it here and have it at 5d8 cost, mostly because I think Revivify is a very powerful spell. You're bringing someone back from the dead. So, it's powerful. 5d8, I put that there because I want to kind of make you hesitate about casting it maybe during combat. Outside of combat, you should be fine. And then, of course, there's Resurrection at 100, but you take 10d8 necrotic damage in the process. So it hurts. It hurts to do it because you're bringing someone back to life with this negative energy, and you're paying a bit of a price to that. But I feel fine with having these in the negative spending chart. And again, with these here at the bottom, it's the exact same with the positive chart here. It's talking about spell saves, attacks, yada yada. Alright, and now finally moving on to Existence is Suffering. However, being a host to such energies comes at a price. At each dawn, should you be over 20 stacks of positive or negative equilibrium, you'll be forced to make a Constitution saving throw. On a success, nothing happens and you are fine. On a failure, you gain 1 stack of exhaustion, the DC of which changes depending on how high your stacks are as follows. So the DC will always equal a 10 plus the stacks level divided by 10 and rounded up, not down, rounded up. So the examples here that I have is 26 divide 10 equals 2.6, and we're rounding up to a 3, and 10 plus 3 obviously equals 13. The other one here is a 41, it's 4.1, but we're still rounding up, so it becomes a 5, and the DC is a 15. So the more and more stacks that you have at dawn, dawn is very specific because this class will have a way of meditating to get rid of exhaustion stacks a bit easier later down the road. You will have to make this save. So this is just kind of there to make people wary about building up stacks for a big engagement that they're about to do, that they realize that there's a price that they may have to pay, that kind of idea. The most important part of all of this is that you have a safe range. Both your positive and negative equilibrium stacks that you can hold a safe limit of equals up to 5 times your Templar level. However, you are able to stack both the positive and negative exponentially. That being said, the effects of going over can be punishing. The example given here is Templar of 6th level is 6 times 5, therefore the safe range is 30, and you have 30 positive and 30 negative stacks that you'll be able to safely hold throughout the day and cast and do whatever you please with it. But however, should you pass your safe limit of equilibrium, you'll be forced to make the same Constitution saving throw above every round until you, at the end of your turn, specifically at the end of your turn, until you are below or at the cap of your equilibrium, or suffer the same effects of gaining 1 exhaustion level. So, this is the way of reeling this class in. This is the way that, you could risk going beyond your at 6th level 30 negative stacks to possibly cast something in a couple of rounds, inflict wounds at 4th level. That's something that you could do, but there's a good chance that you're gonna fail that save, and the longer you're in this, you're past your safe range, that you're out of your safe limit here, there's a greater and greater chance, of course, with every die roll that you make, that you're going to fail those saves and gain stacks of exhaustion and eventually die if, you don't play it safe. Which is what makes this class a bit of a risk versus reward that I like. I wanted to tempt people into going beyond their bounds because literally at 6th level, if you're able to somehow beat the DC saves, you could stack up to 100 stacks and cast Resurrection as for negative stacks, or cast any other things here. You could cast Plane Shift. I'd like that. I'd like that there's a risk and reward, and that the amount of stacks that you're able to gain, it isn't really all too much, especially at lower levels. Lower levels, you don't have too many options for gaining positive and negative stacks all too quickly. You can gain a lot of positive stacks pretty easily with Chill Touch, but at 6th level, I believe it's only going to be 2 die, so you're only ever going to be gaining 4 positive energy stacks every 6 seconds. 8, which is a bit, but at the same time, you're going to pass that fairly quickly with your safe limit. So, it's risk versus reward again. This is also why I've had a hard time with it, is trying to find the spells that I feel would best fit, spells that I feel wouldn't be too powerful, but spells on their own it's fucking magic. It's going to be powerful. And, there's also just the baseline cost of it requiring you to take necrotic damage or whatever, or radiant damage. There's still a price to be paid. Anyways, I'll move on from the equilibrium and the existence of suffering. If I have anything else to say on it, I'll come back to it, or, I might involve the last bit here. So, guys, Vigil at 10th level, drawing upon the strength of the Earth Mother and of your own inner will. You've learned to forego basic mortal needs. I just filled in the Earth Mother here because, again, I felt druidic-y. If you want to substitute it for any other god or deity that you feel best suits this character, you go for it. You no longer need to sleep and can't be forced to sleep by any means. To gain the benefits of a long rest, you can spend 4 hours doing a light activity, such as reading, meditation, or keeping watch. As well, now when you critical hit on a weapon attack roll, you will gain 6 stacks of negative or positive equilibrium stacks. You'll gain whichever you already have stacks for. So the big thing with this, I wanted to give this class a way to regenerate those exhaustion points I'm assuming this. I want to encourage you to play a risk versus reward, and instead of you at the long rest at the end of the day, you can now regenerate 2 essentially exhaustion stacks. That's kind of the idea. Or throughout the day, if your group can go off and do something, you can meditate for 4 hours, you can drop an exhaustion stack. It's finding a balance, and realizing that you may be needed even if you're exhausted, kind of thing. But risk versus reward, and I wanted to kind of make it less punishing here, but also still encouraging at the same time. As well, with the critical hits, gaining you 6 stacks of negative or positive energy. I kind of like that. It's a lot of RNG. This could accidentally put you over the stacks at the end of your turn, with you having no way to dump them. So at that end of the turn, you might have to make that save. So there could be some negative aspects of getting a critical hit, but at the same time, you will have another way to generate these stacks, because again, you have extra attack with this class as a baseline, and it's easy to gain advantage if you have flanking rules. There's other classes out there that can give you advantage. There's plenty of ways to get crits in this game. Alright, now coming down onto 14th level, Crown of Pineal Eye. You've learned to open your third eye for brief windows of time. Once per day, as an action, you can open your third eye to gain true sight up to 30 feet. This lasts for what is your wisdom modifier times 2 in minutes. In addition, the range of your sacrificial rite is now 40 feet, and does not require line of sight, but requires you to know where your target is. So, I felt that this kind of just fit into the class's archetype with more that spiritual side, and the opening of the third eye, crown chakra, and pineal eye is literally third eye, and just having the additional, the range of your sacrificial rite. I wanted that to increase because I've realized that this character's, the further that they go in levels, the further that they are essentially going to be able to cast more ranged abilities, and possibly resort to other longer ranged weapons, and just, a pretty big heal from a distance is nice. The bigger thing, though, of course, is the not requiring line of sight, but knowing where your target is. So there's many ways of you to be able to know where your target is without having line of sight on them. You can hear them. You can smell them. You can make a... Perhaps because of this character is... Their like intuition, they have a better understanding of their surrounding of the world. You might be able to play that up with your DM, but there's other ways to be able to see your target based off on, like, as an action, you can make a perception check, for example, and because your sacrificial rite is still a bonus action, if you succeed on your perception check for hearing or smelling your target, you will be able to determine where they are most accurately, and you'll be able to bonus action heal them. It could serve a purpose, because somebody could be locked behind a wall or something like that and they're dying. Maybe look at that. Or maybe if someone knocks on the wall and be like, I'm over here, they're helping you figure out where they are, that way you can heal them through the wall. Pretty powerful. Requires a little bit of coordination. There's not much more I want to say about this. At the end here, actually, Path of the Warden, Equilibrium. Okay, what? I go into a pretty in-depth detail of how a warden might be played. I suggest reading it. I'm not going to read this all because this video is already pretty long, I'm sure, and it goes on for a little bit. Also, I do end off. This is the end of the pages here. If you have stuck around this long, I'm sure you've found it by now. But the hidden archetype is, of course, the occultist. Here's one of their little things here, the ethereal trance. I'm going to be making a video and posting it in like a week or something like that. We'll see. But that's just a little note. But as for closing this off with the Warden, I'm conflicted with it overall because, again, it's widely different from the other ones. The other ones, I take that back. It fits in line with it. It's just, it becomes more of a spellcaster. It becomes someone that's more able to just cast spells. And if you argue that, oh, you can't, well, at later levels, your chill touch is going to go ahead and do 40 whatever. It's 4 dice. So, I mean, you're going to be able to gain positive energy stacks all the time. Like, all the time. You don't need to invest your sacrificial rite. You don't need to invest any spell levels into it. It's literally a cantrip. You will literally be able to build up positive energy gains easily. So, I don't really have a problem with it. It feels alright. I feel like it's easily understood once you've read it a few times. It took me a little bit, especially when I was writing it out and trying to understand how I was interpreting the positive gains and the negative gains, because I kept reversing it in my head. That like, oh no, doing something negative should create something negative, in a sense that if you want that to be the thing, you can, but I like the idea more of that you're taking, again, you're doing something negative onto the world, you're taking away the positivity, their vitality or whatever, you're extracting that and putting it somewhere else. Negative energy is the same. You're doing something positive and you're drawing that negative energy out of that person and you're putting it somewhere else. I like that. Yeah, it feels alright to me, and I hope people like this class. I hope that It's easily understood. If there's any questions, I'd love to answer. Comment below or ask me in Discord. Well, speaking about commenting, like, subscribe, comment, ring the bell. God, I haven't said that one yet. That one feels dirty. I don't like that bell, gonna be honest. So if you don't want to do that, I understand, but hey, having new subs helps. Anyways, have a good one, as always, and bye-bye.